The push sent her shoulder into the bar rail and knocked a glass off the edge, and I heard it shatter on the floor before I even turned around to see what had happened. I was standing 4 feet from Petty Officer First Class Garrett when he did it. We were 6 hours off a rotation, still carrying the restless, hard-edged energy that does not dissolve the moment an op closes down, and the club near Kestrel Naval Station was packed well past comfortable. Getting from one wall to another meant shouldering through clusters of people who were not paying attention to anything outside their own conversations. Garrett had been trying to reach the bar for 10 minutes. His patience, which was never his most reliable quality, had run out completely. The woman he pushed had been standing at the rail with her back partly toward us, occupying the 2 feet of space a person takes when they are having a quiet drink and not expecting anyone to make sudden decisions about their location. She was not blocking anything deliberately. She was simply present. Civilian clothes, dark slacks, a dark jacket that was neat in the way of things that are used regularly and maintained carefully, nothing on her that indicated rank or unit affiliation. She was older than most people in that room by a visible margin, and there was a quietness to the way she held herself that I had registered in passing without understanding what I was registering. Garrett's shoulder hit hers, and the glass next to her arm went off the rail. The club on a Friday evening near a major naval installation carries a specific energy: loud, warm, junior enlisted releasing pressure at the bar, and senior NCOs running quieter conversations in the booths along the walls. I had been to this place a dozen times across my career. It was the kind of place where a man who had been under operational strain could sit with a drink without having to explain that to anyone. I had not thought anything else about it beyond that. She caught the bar with both hands. She steadied. She did not stumble or go sideways. Garrett was already reaching past her toward the bar. "Move it," he said over his shoulder, not quite looking at her. "Some of us have been waiting." She straightened up and turned to look at him. The expression I caught from the side was not what I expected, not offense, not alarm. Just a calm and specific watchfulness, the look of someone taking careful measure of a thing in front of them. She reached for what remained of her drink, turned the glass slightly in her hand to check it, and set it back down on the rail without stepping back from where she stood. I had 11 years in the teams at that point. Those years had given me a working instinct for when a situation carries wrong energy before anything visible has confirmed it. I was feeling it now and could not locate what was producing it. I stepped up beside Garrett. "Let it go." 15 minutes I have been waiting," he said without looking at me. "She was here first. Let it go." He shrugged, the Garrett shrug, the one that acknowledges your point and declines it at the same moment. I had encountered it in harder places than a crowded club and had never argued through it successfully. I turned to the woman instead. "My apologies, ma'am. He's been on a long rotation." She looked at me, the same unhurried eyes. "No harm done," she said. She did not move. She stayed at the bar rail and looked at both of us, and I registered that watchful patience for the third time without being able to name what was beneath it. I thought maybe she was deciding whether to address the bartender. I thought maybe she was simply waiting for us to stop being in her space. I filed it away and looked back at Garrett. The man beside her, a compact man in a dark blazer who I had noticed earlier, without giving him thought, leaned in when she said something quiet to him. He nodded once and moved toward the entrance of the club. 20 or 30 seconds passed. Then 2 officers in service dress whites came through the front door and moved through the room with the direct, unhurried bearing of men who know exactly where they are going and are not interested in anything between them and there. The senior of the two, a captain by his collar devices and his way of moving, came directly to where we were standing. He looked at Garrett, then at me, then he turned to the woman beside me. "Admiral," he said, "the car is ready whenever you are, ma'am." The word hit and sat there for what felt like 3 seconds before I processed it. Beside me, Garrett went absolutely still. "Thank you, Captain Wren." She let that settle. Then she turned to look at Garrett, not with satisfaction, not with the expression of someone who has been waiting for the turn to come. Just the clear, level assessment of a professional taking accurate measure of something and noting what she finds. "Your name and command," she said. He told her, in a voice quieter than any I had heard from him in 11 years of working alongside him. She nodded once and said "thank you" in the tone you use to confirm a piece of information you are going to log. She picked up her jacket from the bar stool beside her, said a brief word to the captain, and walked out through the room. The silence that followed was the specific silence of a space that has just witnessed something significant and does not yet know how to respond to it. The bartender had both hands flat on the surface of the bar. The couple at the table nearest us were watching the door. 3 or 4 operators from a different unit who had been near enough to hear were studying their drinks with concentrated attention. I looked at Garrett. The color was gone from his face in the way that is not embarrassment. Embarrassment is surface. This was something deeper, the pallor of a man who has worked through the full accounting of what he has just done and found the total impossible to reduce. "Who was that?" he said, no inflection in it, no question mark. "A captain in service dress whites just called her Admiral," I said. He closed his eyes, 1 second. I went to the door. One of the 2 officers was still on the sidewalk, waiting for the vehicle. I asked him who she was. He told me, and I stood in the evening air and let the information arrange itself, which required a moment, because the distance between what I had assumed and what was actually true was a considerable distance. Vice Admiral Constance Merritt, Pacific Fleet Command, 14 months in the current role. Prior to that, 3 tour in naval intelligence, 2 in fleet operations, a progression of commands that the officer described in the brief, flat terms of someone summarizing a file much larger than the summary. 26 years of accumulated work. Work that does not make the news because the category of work she did was designed from the beginning to not make the news. She had been in the club for under an hour, the officer said. Civilian clothes, quiet drink, the way senior officers occasionally arrange an hour without the full weight of their rank present in the room around them. Her aide had been nearby. The car had been around the corner. Garrett's unit received a call the following morning. Administrative and procedural, standard protocol when an incident involving naval personnel had been observed in proximity to a flag officer, not directed by Admiral Merritt herself. She had not initiated it, and as far as the officer outside could say, had not inquired about it. The protocol was built to run on its own, and it ran. I know this because Garrett told me, in a conversation that was brief and honest, and not something I intend to detail here. I ran into Captain Wren the following week at a briefing on the base. He did not mention the evening at Kestrel, and neither did I, but as the room emptied, he paused at the door and looked back at me. "She has never once asked anyone to identify her when she is off duty," he said. "Not in 14 months, not once." He let that sit. "She has never needed to." He left. I thought about that for a long time after. The discipline of a person who holds a 4-star command and walks into a room in civilian clothes with no aide at her shoulder and simply has a drink, trusting that who she is does not require external confirmation at every moment. The composure of someone who knows that the weight of what she has earned does not disappear because the collar devices have been put away for the evening. What I keep returning to is the 90 seconds at the bar rail before the captain said the word. She had known in those 90 seconds exactly who she was and exactly what the room contained. She had not announced it. She had not needed to. She had waited with the patience of a person whose authority has never required active management to remain true, said a quiet word to her aide, and let the facts become visible on their own schedule. One word from the captain, one word she had not asked him to say early, and the complete picture I had formed of the woman at the bar rail was wrong from its foundation upward. The room had been looking at her for 90 seconds and had not seen her at all. She had been seeing the room from the moment she walked through the door. That is what I carry from that evening at Kestrel Naval Station. Not Garrett's face when the captain spoke. Not the broken glass on the floor. The 90 seconds at the bar rail and a woman's patient eyes, and everything those eyes already knew and did not require the room to confirm. There is a quality I have observed in the best senior officers I encountered over 11 years, a quality that has nothing to do with rank insignia or decorations. It is the quality of knowing exactly what you are and not requiring the surrounding environment to reflect it back at you. The rank stays what it is regardless of whether anyone in the current room recognizes it. The record stands whether or not anyone present has read it. Admiral Merritt had that quality in a form I had not seen to that degree before. She had walked into a crowded club in civilian clothes and simply been what she was, without announcement or management. Garrett and I had looked at her and formed a complete and entirely wrong picture. The picture had seemed reasonable from where we stood. It was wrong in every assumption it contained. The facts had not changed when the captain spoke. They had been true the entire time. We had simply not been paying the right kind of attention.